A couple of days ago, I posted a video on how resellers, eBay, Amazon resellers, can and probably should consider investing in real estate, especially towards the end when I showed you how to replace a leased warehouse with your own property. That was a great tip. It's how wealth is built, but it's how wealth is built slowly. This video is another way that wealth can potentially be built. I'm no financial advisor. I know a lot about finance. I'm no financial advisor. I recently was helping a friend, kind of a relative out. She wanted to know, what can we do with our money? Well, don't ask me, but I'll tell you what I would do if I were in your shoes. I told her. And plus, since she's kind of a relative, she can't sue me, so it doesn't matter. But this is not financial advice for you, but I do think you'll find it highly interesting and give you a lot of potential ideas on what you might consider doing with some of your money. Now, I did a video for her, which I probably won't share, I might, about treasury bills because I wanted her to protect most of her money somewhere safe. And right now, treasury bills are higher than they've been in decades. So I did a video for her on how to invest in treasury bills. I then followed up with how to invest in Bitcoin, which is what you're about to see, not very long. If you can't even spell Bitcoin, this is perfect. It goes back to basics, tells you exactly what it is. And this is good because if you wanted an excuse to say I'm really a loony and you don't want to watch me anymore, this is a great excuse. This guy actually thinks Bitcoin has potential to make some money. You can just throw me away that way, no big deal. But just in case you've been wondering, we're making a lot of money on eBay, and you should be making more the more that you implement the ultra advanced strategies that I'm showing you. Your account's getting more powerful. You're dominating eBay more and more every day. You're listing more and more every day, I hope. You're doing it the way I show you. You're going to end up making more money. What do you do with your money? Do you build wealth slowly, possibly through real estate the way I showed you? Probably you should consider that. Should I take what we can save and put it somewhere ultra safe and conservative like treasury bills? Perhaps. Now, treasury bills aren't just for people like Thurston Howell III. If you've never invested in treasury bills, they're really, really easy to do. But I'm not going to show you how to do that here. Should you also potentially consider a high-risk investment, or what most people consider high risk? I think this is very low risk, but most people consider this high risk. You should consider putting some of your money, a small amount perhaps, in something highly risky, and I show you why that's a possibility in this video. I'm not telling you to do it. I'm showing you what is possible, and I'm showing you what I told a friend of mine recently. This is how you can take a very, very, very little amount of your earnings through eBay and possibly catapult those into extremely high wealth. Hello again. Okay, when it comes to just keeping our money and keeping it safe, one is fairly foolish not to put the majority of our money in something very safe, and we've already covered that with treasury bills. One is also almost as foolish as someone who doesn't put all their money somewhere safe. Someone is almost as foolish as that if they don't put a small bit of their money in something risky to a point. The word risk might frighten you when it comes to your money. I understand, but we have protected the majority of your money if you put them in treasury bills. That is a parking place that right now is the place to go, the safest haven for your money on earth. And its high interest rates are currently here because the government is really in a lot of trouble. They watered down our money so badly, no one wants to buy treasury bills or anything else. The dollar is weakening so much, no one wants our goods and services or anything from other countries. We're selling off dollars. They don't want to hold dollars because the value of our dollar keeps shrinking faster than anything else. So a lot of countries are buying gold. A lot of countries are buying Bitcoin. A lot of countries are buying oil reserves and mineral rights and things like that because they don't want their money in dollars because the value keeps dropping. But that's good for us as a safe haven in that interest rates are sky high compared to what they've been historically in treasury bills. That's why I said to do that. Now, when it comes to high risk, I'd rather you look at it as high risk, high return. Or I should say, without risk, you won't get a high return. That simply doesn't exist. If something is very low risk and returns something worth a lot of money, a wonderful investment, how long is that investment going to last? Like 4 seconds, right? Every wealthy person on earth is just going to gobble it up. So in order to get higher returns, you have to be willing to have a little bit of risk. No risk, no return is a better way of looking at it than high risk, high return. But because it is a higher risk, according to because higher risk investments have a chance of destroying destroying your value, destroying your balance, then we want a very small portion in them. However, with a high risk, high return investment, your chance of it skyrocketing like 100-fold are available, whereas treasury bills will never 100 times your money ever, okay? Get that? And everything in between. Medium risk, medium return. Since we've taken care of the majority of your money, I think we should take care of the minority of your money in something that is totally different from the safest haven on earth, treasury bills. I strongly suggest Bitcoin. I'm going to not really teach you much about Bitcoin. I don't think you know much about it. I don't know everything about it, okay? I know just a little bit. I know the reason why it exists. Let me bust a couple of myths, okay? One, with Bitcoin, in case you really don't know anything about it, it's virtual. You do not get coins, even though Dexter here is working with his Bitcoin. See those coins down there with the Bitcoin symbol? He's working with, those don't really exist. Bitcoin is all virtual on a computer, just like the US dollar is. I mean, I know that we can get dollar bills. That's not where the majority of the US money is. The majority of the US money is in bits and bytes in a computer somewhere. And it is a centralized computer. The Federal Reserve, which is not a government agency and never has been ever since 1913 when it was created. The Federal Reserve is a private company whose only purpose for existence is to make its shareholders wealthy. That's what any corporation's goal is. The Federal Reserve is only in existence to make its owners wealthy. And its owners, a lot of politicians, past presidents, things like that, they're all part of that corporation. I know it sounds like conspiracy. I'm going to try to not overdo that on this webinar with you, but it is a reality. And the Federal Reserve is a wicked organization. They control the money supply in the United States, and they say what happens to our money. In order for the United States to pay its bills, it has to keep printing money. You've probably heard that. What happens when a nation gets to print its own money as much as it wants in order to try to pay all of the bills, and instead of cutting spending, wouldn't it be nice if you had a printing press up in your upstairs attic? Wouldn't it be nice to have a secret printing press? Well, the government has a printing press that's totally legal. If they need more money, they just print more money. But you need to understand supply and demand. I'm sure that you do. That destroys our money supply. That makes a dollar worth far less. If we have, we'll say, 100 $1 bills in America today, which we've got more, but we've only got 100, and they decide we're going to print another 100 $1 bills. Guess what they just did? They cut in half the value of the first $100 bills. It's just paper. There's nothing behind it. There's nothing to back the printing of money by the Federal Reserve. They just print more whenever the government needs more. The Federal Reserve is only in business to make its owners wealthy. Its owners are also member banks that are part of the Federal Reserve, which is pretty much all banks. When the government needs money, the Treasury of the United States government has to beg the Federal Reserve, please print more money. We need you to destroy the dollar more because we owe $75 trillion, but we would like it to be watered down a lot. We don't have $75 trillion. If you can just make the money, make a dollar bill worth a lot less, then we will have a lot more dollars to pay off debt because the debt will be worth less as well. That's the way it works. Now, the Treasury and the Federal Reserve are not supposed to work together ever. Well, that's all they do is work together. It's not legal. Are you going to stop them? Are you going to arrest them? No one does anything. I know it sounds like conspiracy. I'll get off that, but this is just the reality of it. The reality of money is nothing gets more expensive. Food does not get more expensive over time. In a real money supply system, not allowed to print more money, all prices would go down, not up, because over time, technology gets better and better. We find new ways of doing things, new ways to get things out of the ground, new ways to do everything, including oil, gas, everything. All minerals get cheaper over time, not more expensive if we had an honest money system, which we don't. Now, the Federal Reserve doesn't really print dollars. They just add to their computer. They'll have $75 trillion in money supply in the world today, and they're just going to tap the plus button on their keyboard, and they'll just increase that to 80 trillion. It's all just bits and bytes. They don't really print more money. They print just enough money to give us some circulating dollars, and they don't like us to have real money like that. Or that's not really real money. But the US dollar is not worth anything except the trust and honesty of the United States government, and I'll leave that as an exercise for you to figure out. Wonder how much we can trust the honesty of the United States government. But whenever we say it, they just print more money. They're actually just pressing buttons, adding more money to the dollar supply. Everything gets more expensive as they destroy the dollar. Your home is worth more than when you paid for it. You think it's not. But it seems like it is. Seems like you could sell it today for more than you paid for it. But the dollar has been demolished by that much. That's the only reason you can sell it for more. Most homes would go down in value, except whenever you increase the value by doing something to a product. So if you buy a home that's in bad shape and fix it up and put a lot of work into it and hire workers, and you two do a lot of work and all of that, in a good, honest money system, that house value would go up because you added value to it. So everything doesn't go down just because. Everything goes down over time if nothing changes because technology gets better, but the more value we put into things, money gets increased. I know I'm seemingly wasting your time here. This is so fundamental to you understanding what happens in our world, the way that you see things. Whenever you see gasoline at the pump, I'll just make up a number, 3 times what it was 20 years ago. Okay, I don't know what it is right now. We'll say it's 3 times more than it was in 2004. That means the money has been demolished by 3 times. Actually, the money has been destroyed more than that. But the reason we only have 3 times what energy cost back in 2005 is because they find new ways to get it out of the ground. Technology helps us not feel the energy crunch as badly as we would otherwise. Okay, we have a dishonest money system. It's called a fiat money. They just make it up out of thin air. That's all the US dollar is. It's just made up. In 1971, Richard Nixon, he took us off the gold standard. Until 1971, the US dollar was backed by gold. That means if the US money supply were $20 trillion in 1971, they had to have $20 trillion of gold sitting in Fort Knox. The gold had to be there to back our dollars. Richard M. Nixon, he said, "Oh, we're going to do away with the gold standard." And he just did away with it. And it was, quote, temporary, right? Okay? It's like any turnpike that's ever been built. They'll look us in the eye and say, we're just temporarily until it's paid for. He took us off the gold standard. That means nothing backs up the US dollar. Nothing. They have no gold, by the way. There's no more gold in Fort Knox. There's nothing backing the US dollar. It's fiat money. It's phony money. And that's why everything is going up, because for the last 3.5 years, Biden has printed whoever his handlers are, they are printing money like has never been done before. That's why everything is going up in price. It's not that things are worth more, it's that our dollar is being destroyed more. That's the reality. That's not, conspiracy. That is the way it works. Someone may disagree with why I'm saying the dollar is being destroyed, although I don't really see how they can. It's just a fact. They're just printing more money. They're adding more zeros to their dollar supplies in the central computer of the Federal Reserve. Our dollar's being wiped out. If they can start lowering the amount of money they owe, and if they can stop printing as much money, you will see a stoppage to inflation. Inflation exists because they print more money that has no value behind it. Now, gold is not a perfect store of value. Gold was not a perfect way to back up the US dollar, but it was pretty good. Every 44 years, the amount of gold in the world doubles every 44 years. So far, that's been the case. That should speed up. It's been speeding up over time. It used to be every 150 years, gold doubled in the world. The reason is they find new ways to get gold out of the ground. And as gold goes up in value, which it always does when the dollar goes down in value, when gold goes up in value, gold companies are able to spend more money to find new ways to get more gold out of the ground. So gold is hard to get. It's not like the US dollar where they just add $10 trillion to the money supply. Whenever gold backed the money supply, the money supply could only increase at the rate gold increased at the rate they were able to get more gold into Fort Knox to back up the money. I hope this is kind of making sense. When Richard Nixon took us off the gold standard, all bets were off. The money went worthless. At that point, the Federal Reserve now has control of the printing press. They don't have to wait for that pesky gold to come in and back up money. Our money means nothing. That's why everything's going up in value. Now, if only there were something that were a perfect store of value. There is. It's called Bitcoin. A couple of myth busters here. Bitcoin is not a cryptocurrency. Some people, even Bitcoin experts, might refer to Bitcoin as crypto in general. They might even say cryptocurrency, although the really smart Bitcoin people don't do that. Bitcoin is a class all by itself. It was the first, quote, cryptocurrency, and there's nothing else like it in the world. All other cryptocurrencies, there are hundreds. Now, everyone saw what Bitcoin was going to do, and they just started creating their own. There's one called Ethereum. You might have heard of Ethereum. There's one called Dogecoin. You might have heard of that. You might have heard of XRP or a lot of other cryptocurrencies. Those are nothing but fiat currencies. The businesses that created those, they simply can create more crypto anytime they want, not Bitcoin. Bitcoin was created and designed in an open source computer program. That means everyone can see the source code. Everyone can see what it is. Bitcoin was created to have a maximum of 21 million coins, and then it stops. There will never be more than 21 million Bitcoins ever on Earth. If Bitcoin goes to $1 million a coin, it's now roughly about $54,000 a coin. If it goes to 1 million, I think it will. If it goes to 1 million, there's still just going to be 21 million Bitcoin, no matter how much or how little. What if the value drops to $10,000 a coin? There still will only ever be 21 million coins. No one can make more Bitcoin. It is the perfect holder of money because no one can inflate it or deflate it. Number two, no one can control Bitcoin. I've said several times so far that the money supply, the fiat US dollar money supply, and by the way, every nation on earth has a fiat. They all have Federal Reserves. They all have fiat money supply. And they're all in trouble. Everyone's inflationary. Everyone's dollar, whatever they use, euro or anything, they're all being just wiped out because of all the runaway spending. And so their nation's Fed has to increase their money supply, just as America's doing. But Bitcoin can never be increased or decreased. 21 million Bitcoins, that is it. Something else you need to know. If you want to invest in Bitcoin, and the current price of Bitcoin is $55,000, which it basically is, you don't have to buy $55,000 worth of Bitcoin. You don't have to buy one coin. You can buy as little as a Satoshi, and that's a tiny, tiny, tiny fraction of a Bitcoin. So if you want to buy $10 worth of Bitcoin, you will have a very small sliver of a Bitcoin, and that's perfectly fine. You will then own some Bitcoin. I strongly advise you, don't buy any other crypto anything. They can inflate their supply away, just as the US dollar and every other nation on earth is doing. Bitcoin's the only one that cannot be increased. Well, what if the US government says we're going to outlaw Bitcoin? The US government cannot outlaw Bitcoin. I know that's a bold statement. They cannot outlaw. Bitcoin is universal. There are hundreds of thousands of computers all over the world running the Bitcoin program, and they all interact on something called a blockchain. Okay, I promise I won't get technical, but the blockchain is a list of every Bitcoin transaction since it was created in 2000, whenever it was created. So the first Bitcoin transaction, when someone bought the first Bitcoin for a partial penny, that transaction is on the blockchain. It is a record of every single transaction. Every time I've bought or sold Bitcoin, although I generally I've only just buy Bitcoin. Every time I've bought, there is a record of me buying it on that blockchain. Does it point directly to me and my name? No, but there's a record of those purchases. No one can change the blockchain because hundreds of thousands of computers all over the world run the same blockchain, and they monitor it. That's what the Bitcoin program is all about. And if anyone messes with the blockchain, the other hundreds of thousands of computers spit it out and reject it. Unlike the centralized Federal Reserve computer, Bitcoin is decentralized. Hundreds of thousands of computers all over the earth are keeping it honest, keeping it from being changed by any one government, entity, or anything. The blockchain is protected. Therefore, if the U.S. government tries to change the blockchain, every other computer on earth is going to reject that change, and Bitcoin is just going to keep on holding its value. Now, Bitcoin does go up and down. Why? Because the U.S. dollar goes up and down. Because people buy and sell Bitcoin. Sometimes people start fearing Bitcoin as an investment, and you have weak people selling. That lowers the price. I'll be right back. Bitcoin can't be changed. Bitcoin can't be canceled. Bitcoin can't be outlawed. They can't get rid of it. The Federal Reserve despises Bitcoin. They don't mind Ethereum and all the cryptos. They don't mind those because those are all fiat money. But anyway, there are two reasons why Bitcoin goes up or down in value. There are more buyers than sellers, or there are more sellers than buyers. That's just a normal way assets are. And if there are more sellers than buyers, the price drops. If there are more buyers than sellers, the price increases. That's just supply and demand, no big deal. The other reason Bitcoin goes up or down in value is the money supply, and inflation increases all of that. Because now, like right now, there are currencies on earth that are at a record high of Bitcoin. So Bitcoin and Peruvian dollars, whatever they are, Bitcoin might be at an all-time record high, but it's not at an all-time record high with the US dollar because, for example, Peru might be far worse inflated than the US dollar is right at the moment. The US dollar is really bad, but it's the best dirty shirt in the laundry compared to a lot of nations. That's why the US dollar will be one of the last to fall, although we're the biggest, so might be one of the first just because of size. But Bitcoin's value is derived. You have to have a value based on your currency to know, relatively speaking, how much do I have, how much does it cost. But we want Bitcoin in dollars. The way to look at Bitcoin is I want to trade fiat money, worthless fiat money, for Bitcoins that cannot be changed. And the more that happens, the more people that own and want to own Bitcoin, the more people that see the need for it, and it's growing, the value of Bitcoin will skyrocket in US dollars, which is all we care about. It'll skyrocket in every currency. So I want you to know the value of Bitcoin, the dollar amount of Bitcoin per coin is basic 14 or 15 when Bitcoin was created. You could buy, I'll just say, one Bitcoin for a penny, although it was probably more like 3 or 4 for a penny. One Bitcoin is now worth $55,000. Bitcoin for the last, I don't want to exaggerate, 8 years. For the last 8 years, I believe, Bitcoin has been the highest returning asset on earth, except for 1 year when it didn't hit the all-time high. One out of the last 8 years, I believe, Bitcoin was not the highest returning asset on earth. That means higher than any stock, higher than gold or silver for sure. Gold and silver, they don't really go up all that much. Bitcoin's higher than any real estate return. Any fund, manager's fund, has been higher than any other asset on earth. Will that continue? Yes. Will it continue every year like that? I don't know. I don't know the future. Neither do you, which is why I'm going to show you how to be smart about buying it without risking a whole bunch of money and without having to know very much more than what I'm telling you. Finally, you're going to hear the term Bitcoin miners. People mine Bitcoin. What does that mean? Well, and by the way, there are 19 million Bitcoins mined so far. In 2 more million, when 21 million Bitcoins are totally mined, no more Bitcoin will be mined. It will stop. The whole process is designed to stop at 21 million, and there's nothing anyone can do about that. Right now, until we hit 21 million, and we're at 19 million, almost there, it'll be about, 25, 30 years for the other 2 million because it's slowing down. 25, 30 years, as fewer and fewer Bitcoin remains, the value goes up because 44 million millionaires. There's only 21 million Bitcoin in existence. When the majority of millionaires start realizing, oh man, everything I own is denominated in dollars or Peruvian, I need some Bitcoin because it's the only real fixed asset. Gold isn't fixed, it doubles, remember, every 40-something years. Bitcoin is the only asset that is fixed, and you buy Bitcoin, your money does not go down in value. Now your money goes up and down based on your currency value when more and more of those 45 million millionaires on earth realize, I got to protect my money. My government's just inflating everything away. I need Bitcoin. There's only people like me. I'm not selling my Bitcoin to a millionaire. Not anytime soon. I'm holding on for the long haul. I hodl. Hold on for dear life. That term is hodl. I'm not selling it for anything. Now, I might borrow against it someday. If it goes up to $1 million a coin, I might borrow $1 million on one of my Bitcoins. We own 5 or 6 Bitcoins, right? Maybe 7. And I might borrow, if it goes up to $500,000, I might borrow money against it. So what? I'm risking one of my 7 Bitcoin and I just get an instant $500,000 or $1 million if the value has gone up to that. But I'll never sell ever, because I think the value will continue to just go up as nations destroy their currencies. They have a long way to go. And I know there are 45 million millionaires on earth, and there are only 21 million Bitcoins. And those millionaires are going to have to pay up a lot of money, which is the other reason, supply and demand, I told you. That's why Bitcoin goes up. That's what we're counting on. As the supply gets narrower and as people see what's happening to money, the demand will go up and the value might really go up. Now, how can it go up more than from a penny to $55,000? Oh, I think it can easily go up far more than that, easily. And it's taken 12, 15 years for that to happen. Okay, you have a lot of questions probably. You're going to hear a lot of things about Bitcoin. If you tell anyone you've got some, you're going to hear, oh, that's a fraud. Oh, that's, a scheme, a Ponzi scheme, or the government's going to keep you from owning any, or I don't know. The government has no control over you owning it. I need to show you now how to buy Bitcoin, and the way that you do that is you go to Coinbase.com. You can't see that, can you? And forget the home right now. Coinbase, all one word, Coinbase.com. Open up an account and link a bank account to it. This is how you buy Bitcoin. Put this back, Coinbase.com. I have 6 or 7 Bitcoin. That's several $100,000, $300,000 worth of Bitcoin, something like that. Because I've been buying for about 4 years now, slowly and surely, and it's been going up like crazy. Now, if I sound like a genius, I'm just lucky. And Bitcoin might go down to $10,000. It might. I don't think it will. It has big swings. You have to hold on. That's why risk and return is in anything that is a very good payback investment. But now you only see $225 in my Coinbase account. That's because I don't buy Bitcoin in Coinbase. Their user fees are expensive. The government knows everything they do, and it's none of their business. Coinbase is simply a way to buy it, and then I transfer it out of Coinbase to this little USB device. I have control of all of our Bitcoin right here. But the Bitcoin's not stored on here. Do you remember where Bitcoin is stored? It's stored on that blockchain that hundreds of thousands of computers are protecting all over the world in a decentralized computer network that no one can change, no government can change whatsoever. I have my Bitcoin on the blockchain. I took it off Coinbase and I have it on the blockchain. And the only thing this really keeps is a 24-word passphrase. I have 24 words that I need to pull my Bitcoin off the blockchain and sell it or whatever I want to do with it, spend it or whatever. I don't want you doing all of this. I just want you to have a pretty good investment with a little bit of your money. I want you to leave it on Coinbase because who cares? You just need to start buying it. Someday you get up to $100,000 in Bitcoin. Maybe you want me to show you how to pull it off so that you have 100% access to your Bitcoin. By the way, if I lose this, doesn't matter, as long as I know my 24-word passphrase. If I have $3 million of Bitcoin that I have tied to my 24-word passphrase, then I can take my $3 million of Bitcoin, walk across any border on earth, and as long as I know my 24-word passphrase, I have my money. If I have $3 million of cash or $3 million of gold or silver or diamonds, I can't walk across a border with that much stuff. You can't carry all the gold and silver that $3 million is worth. You can't carry all the dollar bills that $3 million. You just can't. But you can walk across any border in the world, and as long as you have your 24-word passphrase, and there are ways to not forget that and to keep it forever, but we're not going into that anymore. You are going to keep all of your Bitcoin on Coinbase. Notice I've only got $225 in Coinbase. I guess I have a little bit of it. I left a little bit here, like 0.01 Bitcoins. Coinbase is just to buy it, and you can keep it here. You go to Coinbase to buy Bitcoin just like you go to a stockbroker to buy stock. So you go to Coinbase and open an account and connect a bank account. It's a little bit more tedious even than the Treasury because they are very security conscious. So you're going to go through hoops, but just follow all their instructions. They're going to want to know everything. Tell it to them. They need to make sure that they can find you if you turn out to be some fraud guy. Okay? No big deal. Get some money there. And then I want you to buy a little bit of Bitcoin. Now, I'll just buy some now. I assume my balance is cash. I don't know. I haven't been to Coinbase in maybe a year. I buy it somewhere else now. The reason I want you to use Coinbase is it is by far the easiest place on earth to buy Bitcoin for someone who's never done it before. So this is where you start. Everyone would agree with that. Every Bitcoiner on earth would agree. Yeah, you've never bought Bitcoin before. Go to Coinbase and it's easy. And they have an app, but I suggest you use a computer or laptop, your tablet, to do your purchase and everything. I want to buy some. So I'm going to go and I'll buy $10 worth, okay? $10 US. Okay, it's going to go to my bank and pull that out, review the order. Okay, that would work, and I would have it. I'd have $10 more Bitcoin if I have been on this recently. I haven't been in my account for a while, and they fear that I've lost my laptop and someone's just picked it up and somehow got my password to Coinbase. They want me to relink you will have to do this once in a while. They want me to relink the bank account that I tied to my Coinbase account to before they will let me buy even $10 worth of Bitcoin. Great. And you can go to relink your account, enter your password to your bank, and it'll work. I'm not going to do that now, but normally when you want $10 worth of Bitcoin, it'll just buy it. And it will increase your Bitcoin value under my assets. Let's see how little I have here in Coinbase. I guess all of my money in Coinbase right now, $225, is in Bitcoin. It's a very small amount of Bitcoin. When the price, I guess I have 1 penny in cash because I don't want to keep cash. I don't want to do anything at Coinbase, but I keep just enough here to keep my account active. So you're going to go to Coinbase, open an account, and just click buy. Go to Bitcoin and click buy. Now you can go here and open all sorts of Shiba Inu. That's a crypto coin that they can just increase the supply anytime they want. All these phony coins are going to entice you, and you're going to hear people say, oh, you ought to buy some Ethereum. It's going up tomorrow. I promise you that. That's all just snake oil. Maybe it'll go up and maybe not. It doesn't matter. There's only one that is a perfect store of value. That is Bitcoin. And there's only one that will go to the moon as more and more people realize I have to put my money in something that can never be inflated or taken away from me. What if Bitcoin is a little bit lower today than it was yesterday? And it is. Should you wait for the price to go up to buy it? No, because you get more Bitcoin today. Don't you want to buy things when they go on sale? So if the price has dropped, don't worry about buying it. Be thankful that you can buy it lower than you could yesterday, okay? If the price has gone up, great. Any Bitcoin you have, it's all going up at the same time. If you've been buying for a while, it all just went up. So if you want to buy some today and the price went up 10% overnight, great. Your whole portfolio went up 10%. Either way, I want you to set aside an amount of money that you can invest regularly into Bitcoin, because you don't know when it's going to reach its all-time low from this point, and you don't know when it's going to reach its all-time high, and you should sell everything. You don't know. I wouldn't sell everything, but I'm using kind of stock terminology here. Don't worry about the price. I want you to worry about just getting some, because we're going to look back, in my not so humble opinion, we're going to look back and say, can you believe we were able to buy one Bitcoin for under 6 digits, for under $100,000. I remember the day 3 years ago when we could buy Bitcoin for $55,000, and they're all going to go, no way. All the new people in they're going, no way. You couldn't. I don't believe that. So don't worry about the price. You just worry, and you can't predict when a stock or Bitcoin is going to reach its high or low for the week, for the year, for the day, for centuries. So don't do any prediction. Just buy a little bit every week or every 2 weeks, every paycheck, whatever you can do. And if that means $5 for a while, I want you to buy $5 worth of Bitcoin every paycheck. If that's all you can afford, buy $5 worth of Bitcoin. Coinbase is going to charge you a huge fee. I mean, it's not, you won't think it's huge, but compared to other places you can buy it that's not nearly as easy to use, it's huge. Don't worry about it. It's a rounding error. Bitcoiners, people investing in this real money, believe that the value is just going to just skyrocket as currencies all over the world fall. And I mean fall literally, are just wiped out, destroyed. They have to replace them with some other phony currency because it's all gone. Now, here's what I want you to do. I don't want you to sign in every 2 weeks, every time you get paid. I don't want you signing in to Coinbase and buying $5, if that's the dollar amount you decided, or 20, little more is good, but not if it strains your budget. $5 is fine. Whether you buy 25 every paycheck, $5 is fine, okay? I want you to set up the following. I want you to go here. Once you have your bank account linked, I want you to go, instead of a one-time order, I want you to do a recurring buy. See that? Here's what I did. You'll need to come back to this point when you're ready. You've got your account open, and instead of buying some Bitcoin because you do 15th of the month, or maybe just once a month, choose one of these. Daily, no, you don't want to do daily probably. Weekly, probably not. Every 2 weeks, every 1st and 15th, maybe. That's about when you get paid. Or maybe you get paid once a month, do it monthly. But I want you to set up a recurring buy, which I just chose. And on the 1st and 15th of the month, I'm going to buy $20 worth of Bitcoin. And you're going to make sure it says Bitcoin here and not Ethereum or XRP or Solana or any of these others that people are going to say, well, that's what you ought to invest in. No, it's not. You might as well just keep it in dollars. I want you to make sure you're buying Bitcoin. Make sure your bank is linked. It will be. You just set up the account. Mine, I haven't used this in several months. I haven't bought Bitcoin through Coinbase, so I need to relink my account. I'm not going to do that. But you're going to go buy, recurring buy, 1st and 15th of the month, I'll say for now, and I want you to buy whatever you can buy, $5, 25 better, okay? And that's only buying 0.00041,286 Bitcoin. That's not very much Bitcoin. Oh, that's just fine. And I want you to review the order and buy it. Now, if you set this up every 1st and 15th, it'll just happen. You'll get an email saying, we bought another $25 worth of Bitcoin. It's the 15th, we bought another $25. On the 1st, it's the 1st, we bought another $25. Your account balance is this. And your Bitcoin account will very slowly go up or down in time based on, but the amount of Bitcoin you have will always increase. Now, let's say you've been doing this for 6 months and Bitcoin goes up to $100,000. The next $25 you buy is going to buy a smaller amount of Bitcoin than you bought previously. But all the rest of the coin that you own, it's gone up to $100,000 face value. So if you had by then a 20% of a coin, of a Bitcoin, it just went up dramatically. I want you to keep doing this. This is called DCA, dollar cost averaging. I just want you to buy the same amount a little bit at a time, consistent every week, every 2 weeks, every month, whatever you can do, as much as you can risk, assuming that you're taking care of the majority of your what little or however much you have in treasury bills. You have a little bit to play with, and that's what Bitcoin. And this is just going to go for you. The reason you dollar cost average is you can't predict the future. You can't predict short-term values. I think we can predict that Bitcoin's going to be worth $1 million in our lifetime, long before we get close to dying. I think that the evidence is too obvious this is happening, but it may or may not. I just want you to buy a little bit at a time, dollar cost average. Dollar cost averaging says, I don't care if it's higher, I don't care if it's lower, buy a fixed amount of Bitcoin every whatever. You can do this with stocks or anything. This is what you do, and you review the order and click OK, and you just forget about it. You'll get emails saying when it happens, how much you have. You can go back into Coinbase and look at reports, look at your balance. Doesn't matter. All of that's just available. I want you to set it and forget it. And in 5 years, you very well could have a lot of money in Bitcoin. But if it doesn't go up in 5 years, like a lot of us think it will, you haven't spent a lot on Bitcoin. No risk, no return. High risk, high return. You haven't spent a lot, though. It's a, quote, risky investment. I think Bitcoin, believe it or not, I've said things that were wrong before. I think Bitcoin is the safest investment on earth. Not necessarily to go up in value, but the safest investment. I think all the money that you and I are making on treasury bills, I think that's highly risky. Not because the U.S. government will fall, but because the U.S. dollar is just going to be more and more worthless all the time. So if we make $200,000 in treasury bonds over time because of all that we put our money in and all that 5%, it goes up to 8% interest, 10% interest as the economy gets worse and worse, and they have to bribe people like us more and more to trust our money in the U.S. government, and they need more money. They need to entice us more to pay off their higher and higher bills. All of that, I think that's high risk. I think Bitcoin, the perfect store of value, is the lowest risk investment on earth. In 5 years, if Bitcoin is more than it is today, it will be destroyed. Housing prices will really be destroyed. Energy will be nothing. Nothing's going to be done economically. We're going to be in a world of hurt economically. Relatively speaking, Bitcoin will have held its value. At that point, if instead of $55,000, $56,000 a coin, if it's $10,000 a coin, it's going to relatively be the best place our money could have been because all other places would have really been wiped out. It still is worth $10,000 in US dollars, okay? This is the way to look at it because it's the accurate way. You'll have a lot of questions. Oh, I didn't mention what mining is. What mining is you mine for Bitcoin means you add your computer to the hundreds of thousands of computers on Earth protecting the blockchain. And randomly, but what they're really doing is protecting the blockchain from any 1, 2, 3 into the value of Bitcoin. They don't have the most powerful government on earth, maybe U.S. government, I guess it still is. They don't have the power to affect the price of Bitcoin, except maybe to sell it, to badmouth it, to try to get people to sell more Bitcoin, you know. But they can outlaw it in America, but all I need to know, they can't outlaw me remembering my 24 words. That's all I need, and I can go to any country on earth. I just need my 24 words. And there are ways for me to keep track of my passphrase, my 24 words, without actually memorizing, although memorizing probably is pretty wise to do. You get to $150,000 worth of Bitcoin, you'll be fine on Coinbase. I'm going to try to convince you to go this route and protect your own money for the first time ever. It's not like even having dollar bills at home in the safe because that still goes down in value. I'm going to try to convince you someday because you're going to have so much money in Bitcoin. You'll go, yeah, I probably should have access to my Bitcoin, to my money for the first time ever. Okay? But for now, Coinbase, easy peasy. This is what you do. Ask me anything and I'll be glad to help.